Hello everyone, SPC here, and welcome back to another video. So we're within 100 days now of the midterm elections, so I thought why not just update my whole rankings. If you've been following me for a while, you know how my rankings work. I go safe, likely, lean, and tilt, and obviously I'm going to start with the house first. As you can see, I already filled in all the safe seats because, let's be honest, it's going to take forever to fill all of them in. So if I went through every single seat, so let's get right into it. Uh, I'm not going to waste any more of you guys' time. So I have the Democrats starting out at 191. I have the Republicans starting out at 159. Obviously, 80. That means 85 here are what I consider the uh, battleground races. So let's get right into it. So let's start off with the North. We're going to go from the east to west as usual. Starting off with Maine, I have lean Republican. Obviously, you can make a case for it to be going back to the Democrats, but with it being very Republican now, the way I see it being competitive, but I think Republicans will take it over. New Hampshire too, that's obviously a likely Democratic seat. All right, now to New York. I got likely Democrat here in the Pat Riley seat in New York 19, and the Stefanik seat. And this seat right here, Nikola Lota, New York 1, likely Republican. Got likely Democrat in New York 4. And I now have this as lean Democrat in New York 17. That's Mike Lawler. All right, down in New Jersey and PA. Obviously, whoop, I have this as tilt Democratic. And I have this as likely Republican. Tom King, he's been away from the Capitol as of late due to, I believe, having depression. Um, but I think he has done a terrible job, like doing, being transparent about him being in therapy or rehab instead of going missing on his constituents. That's why I think Democrats will be favored because of the trust issues going on between Tom Kaine and his constituents. And New York 2, Jeffrey Andrew, I see it potentially flipping if a blue wave is strong enough. In PA, the same thing with this seat. Your PA, I believe it's 16. It's PA, I think 16. Again, it's Erie, so it is going to be. It has a swing county with Shapiro on the ballot, and Shapiro is expected to win PA and Erie pretty handily. I could see this seat being a at least somewhat competitive race. And Scott Perry's seat, there's a lean Democrat. Same here in the 7th for PA. The first, I now have lean Republican. It's starting to look like Brian Fitzpatrick may have a tougher race than originally expected. And finally, in PA 08, tilt Democrat. I see Democrats gain 3 seats in Pennsylvania. Down to Virginia, North in the Carolinas. Likely Democrat here in Virginia 7. I got a lean Democrat in the 2nd, and lean Republican in the 1st. If you're Democrats, you prefer at least to get Virginia 2. If it's going to be if it's going to be a wave night, you probably want Virginia 1. And if it's going to be a tsunami night, Virginia 5, maybe? I have Virginia 5 as a safe Republican seat, but as we get further, I may reconsider that seat as well. Down in North Carolina, I now have Democrat Don Davis expected to survive by a lean margin here in North Carolina 1. I just think that it's going to be a better environment for Democrats in these swing seats, and I think despite him getting kind of screwed over by a gerrymander, I think he should survive this year. I got lean Republican now in North Carolina 1 due to uh, shifting Democrats starting to gain momentum in that area of the state of North Carolina. And then the 3rd and the 7th are likely Republican. And in South Carolina 1, I got likely Republican as well. Alright, down here in Alabama, Georgia, Florida, likely Republican in these 2 seats. Republicans should win both, but in a wave year, both would be competitive. Alabama 2. This was the seat redrawn by Alabama after the Supreme Court reversed some of the Voting Rights Act, gerrymandering clause. I see it as lean Republican. It's starting to look like figures may have a good shot at winning if the environment is right, and I see it. The generic ballot starting to shift all, and especially if Doug Jones wins this district, he could help pull figures close or even win. So, and then in Florida, all right, let's start with the 7th and 11th. The 11th likely Republican, the 7th lean, so is the 9th. Likely down here in the South Florida districts, the Salazar and Jimenez districts. The Mosquito seat, lean Democrat. Same here in the Castor seat. Right here, 13. Pinellas County, I got it as lean Republican. Likely Republican right here, since district hook up a bunch of Democratic areas in Tampa. Then this seat right here, tilt Republican. It got a lot of Broward and Palm Beach Democratic areas, so then it goes out towards the Gulf Coast where it's a bunch of Republican areas because where the turnout was highest. All right, now up to the Midwest. All right, starting off with Michigan. Lean Democrat, likely Democrat. So I see Democrats winning the 2 Republican ballot toss swing seats, and then I see this seat potentially being a reach flip by a guy as lean Republican. Indiana, the 5th, I see it potentially being competitive if the environment is right. Same with the 6th. In Ohio, I got the 1st and the 13th for now as likely Democrat. I got the Captor seat now as a lean Democrat. Captor has been doing very well. She's been funding very good. I think she will survive. Here we go. The 8th, likely Republican. You gotta watch this seat. If this seat is close, then it's potentially going to be a wave or potentially a tsunami year here. And then in the 15th and the 10th, I both got those as likely as well. They're trending towards a lean, but I still think it's going to be difficult to flip them. And then in the 7th, Max Miller has got himself in a ton of trouble. Ethics investigations, allegations, I actually will send it to tell Republican. Yeah, he's got himself into a lot of trouble, and if Sherrod Brown does ultimately win, Max Miller's personal problems probably could cost him his seat. All right, in Wisconsin, obviously wave year, these two could potentially be competitive. Lean Democrat here in the third. Obviously, it's an error, weak incumbent situation. They're being Orden. He sucks as a person. People don't like him. And in the way in a even a good year, a moderately good year for the Democrats, this he probably flips. And in the first, this is Kenosha. In Racine, lean Republican. Over in Minnesota, likely Republican up here in the Duluth seat because it's possible Duluth turnout in Duluth area could boost Democrats, and then down here in the South, I see that potentially being competitive as it's on the border with the seat right here, and then obviously likely Democrat for the Angie Craig seat. All right, this is controversial, but the first likely Democrat. Marinette Marin Leaks has won 2 of her 3 races by less than 1/10 of 1%. She won 2 years ago by like 600 votes. She won in 2020 by 6 votes. Uh, she's very unpopular. Christina Bohannon should mop her up by Iowa Democratic standards. And then in the third, this is actually the best seat for Democrats. I got it as lean Democratic because of the environment and the Trump actually did worse here than the Miller Meeks seat. And then in the first, and I mean the second, lean Republican, this is the Henson seat. It's starting to look like it's going to be on the verge of becoming a flip opportunity for the Democrats, especially if Rob Sand wins the governorship, and if he wins it pretty handily too. All right, the Nebraska seat. This is Don Bacon retiring. Democrats finally get it. Likely Democrat move on. These 2 Missouri seats, Democrats are going to make a run, but I think it's going to be unlikely they win it. And then the Oklahoma seat, again, Democrats could make it closer than usual, but I don't see it flipping. Down here in Texas, the 9th and the first second should be easy flips. Should be flips for the Republicans there, but you never know, honestly. Down in Rio Grande Valley, room Republican here due to the candidate quality here. Herrera doesn't have the baggage that Tony Gonzalez does, but Herrera has baggage from his social media posts and all that. Yeah, either way, Democrats could make a run at, even if it was Gonzalez, Democrats would probably could have made a big. Democrats are going to make a run. In the Cuellar seat, yeah, it's looking like Cuellar is going to mop up the competition. Yeah, yeah, he's going to mop up the competition most likely. Vicente Gonzalez, same boat. I think with the reversion of Hispanics, and if Talrico does very well down in the Rio Grande Valley, Gonzalez and Cuellar will probably be fine. The 15th, lean Republican. Democrats got a pretty good popular figure in the Tejano community. I believe he was a popular music artist against Monica de la Cruz. Uh, Environment matters. Talrico's margin matters a lot here. See how people split the ballot down in the Rio Grande Valley. But if Talrico dominates in the Rio Grande Valley like he did in the primary against Crockett, then De La Cruz might be in some big trouble. And in the 35th, I actually see now Democrats holding on to that due to potential Democratic turnout in Bexar County, which is in lower Republican uh, gap in Guadalupe County. All right, down to the southwest, Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Utah, and New Mexico. And the New Mexico seat, the second, likely Democrat. Gabe Vasquez should be fine. And I already got the Democrats at 218. Up here in Colorado, Gabe Evans looks like he may be in some trouble. He's definitely an underdog at this point. Bobert and Crane. I don't. Bobert seat, and then the fifth. Yeah, they're going to be competitive. And then the third, it's been competitive the last few years. It's going to be tilt Republican for me due to how Republicans have been starting to decline in the district. All right, Arizona. I got the Democrats winning both the sixth and the first by lean margins. And then in the second, I have lean Republican. Eli Crane's starting to look like he may be in a little bit trouble in this seat. And then Nevada, sleeper race up here in the Reno district. And then in the swing district outside of Vegas, I see as likely Democrat. Not going to be competitive. Up here in Montana, Washington, Mayor Camp and Perez, and then the Oregon fifth. The Washington seat could be MGP. Probably is the most endangered outside of John Davis. Might be the most endangered Democrat incumbent. In Montana's first, lean Republican on the verge of, I think, tilt potentially. And then down here to California, likely, whoa, in the 13th, lean and lean. The 22nd and the 48, I believe those districts are. They're going to be, they're the most competitive of the new districts drawn in California. Lean right now, but trending towards likely. And then in Alaska, lean Republican. Alright, that's my map for the House. 227 Democrats, 208 Republicans, with the Democrats having a lot of momentum and shift towards Democrats since my last map. Alright, now let's go over to the Senate. I just did a map here for the Senate. Let me just. I just did a prediction a week or two ago for the Senate. So it's going to be kind of like the same, but obviously, it's going to be my ratings are likely, safe, likely, lean, tilt as always. So let's get right into it. So safes for the Democrats. I got Oregon, New Mexico, Colorado, Illinois, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, Virginia. That's it. States for Republicans: Idaho, Wyoming, South Dakota, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky. Not Georgia. I meant to correct South Carolina. Whoa. Whoops. And then West Virginia. All right. Likely for the Democrats: Minnesota, New Hampshire, and now Georgia. All right. Time to do some explanation. Minnesota and New Hampshire, Democratic states that Trump lost by about 5 to 7 points, I believe, in each. Um, shouldn't be competitive. And in Georgia, John Ossoff has been leading in polling against Mike Collins by a decent amount the whole campaign. And recently, his fundraising numbers, he's outraised Collins in this whole campaign 9-1. He has 97 mil in fundraising. Collins has 7 mil. Ossoff has just been on cruise control this whole campaign. I've been reluctant about making it likely, but the evidence shows that Ossoff is going to be fine. But if things change, I will change it back. Alright, likely for Republicans. Nebraska, Montana, Florida. Alright, so here's my dealio with Montana and Nebraska. It's going to rely on how good does the independents do. Obviously, in Nebraska, we have a 1v1. Ricketts, Osborne. Osborne did very well 4 years, not 4 years ago, 2 years ago against Deb Fisher. And almost caught Deb Fisher sleeping. In Montana, I believe his name was Barnard, the Democrat. The independent, my bad. The Democrat has been stubbornly staying in the race. If she drops out, it's going to be pretty competitive. If he stays in, I mean, it's going to be. I don't know when the deadline is, but if that passes and the Democrats are on there, I would shift it back to safe R. All right, leans for the Democrats: Michigan, North Carolina. Michigan, obviously the most vulnerable Democratic seat now, it seems like. It just looks pretty. Mike Rogers in recent weeks has been capping at 42, 43%. Still leads in those polls, but it's been a constant him capping at 43%, which is not good if you want to flip the seat. And then in North Carolina, Roy Cooper, he's been dominating the polls. I've just been reluctant to shift it to likely Democrat, and I will not do that today because it is a Republican held seat. Republicans are going to spend a ton of money here, as opposed to Georgia, where Ossoff is uh, fundraising the heck out of that and polling very well against Mike Collins. Cooper, very popular. Watley is the former RNC chair. They're going to fund North Carolina a lot. So I think it's going to be closer than expected, but Cooper is going to probably win, and I have his lead Democrat. All right, lean Republican, and it's only one: Iowa. Look, the way that it's been going, I was looking like it would be on the verge of being neck and neck. Turek has been doing pretty well. He did get on fundraise, which is a little concerning, but he's been keeping up, and we'll have to see how Rob Sand does in the governorship, if he does end up making this seat a little bit more competitive or not. All right, now for the tilts. It's going to be two for each party. For the Democrats, Maine and Alaska. For the Democrats in Maine, they got rid of Graham Plattner, which is great news for Democrats because if Collins would have been certainly favored against Plattner with all those scandals coming out, they now got Troy Jackson, who came second in the gubernatorial convention or something. I think it was a convention or a primary. He came second, and he is pulling ahead of Collins right now. It's still within the margin error, worth watching, and Collins is on, on even though she's unpopular, she's still strong and a good campaigner. In Alaska, Peltola she has more qualifications than any other Democratic challengers, as she actually did win a statewide election in this state. She won two House elections here and came within 2 points of winning again last year and 2 years ago in 24. She overperformed Kamala Harris by like 12 points. If you continue to, if that happen, if she even with this environment, she when he's uh like she even in this environment, she would probably win. Rachel's voting will probably help her as well. All right, tills for Republicans: Ohio and Texas. Ohio. Sherrod Brown has been raking in the money, and he's been pulling well because and he's has the enthusiasm gap, and plus the governor's race is very highly competitive as well. There's a chance that if that both Democrats pull each other over, and it's possible that both Democrats fall just short. It's going to be probably the closest race in the cycle, potentially. And then in Texas, Kim Paxton and Sam Baggage. And not to mention, he's been dominated so far in the fundraising in the money department by James Tallarico. James Tallarico has also been campaigning and where he needs to be campaigning the most, the Rio Grande Valley. That's where a lot of shifts from 2016, 2018, 2020, 24 shifted towards the Republican Party. He needs to shift them back. But he's been doing that. But I doubt he's going to get enough shifting in the 200 rural counties to win, but it's going to be close. So that's my Senate prediction. For governors, obviously it's here we go with the governors. Same thing. Lean, tilt, lean, likely, and safe. Let's start with the safes for the Democrats. Or for the Democrats, California, Hawaii, New Mexico, Colorado, Minnesota, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New York. Let's start for the Republicans now. South Dakota, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, South Carolina, Vermont, Wyoming, Idaho. Likely for the Democrats: Michigan, Maine. Likely for Republicans: Alabama, Florida, New Hampshire, Alaska. Here's my reasoning. Alabama, Doug Jones, called a candidate, obviously won a election in Alabama as a Democrat 9 years ago. It was 9 years ago, but he still won as a Democrat in Alabama in the last decade. All right, now let's go to the leanings for the parties. For Democrats: Iowa, Wisconsin, Oregon, Arizona. Here's my reasoning. In Oregon, Kotek, very unpopular. In Arizona, Biggs, not really a good candidate. Hobbs has been above water most of her governorship. And Iowa, Rob Sand, the only Democrat who won in Iowa in 2022. And in Wisconsin, Democrat, incumbent, but it is a swing seat, so it's potential Republicans pick it off. leans for the Republicans. Kansas, Texas, Nevada. In Texas, Abbott is in a race of his life right now. In Kansas, Democrats hold the governor's mansion in Kansas. I think it's going to be closer than people expected, but Republicans will get Kansas. And then in Nevada, Lombardo is very popular right now, so he'll probably win. And then the tilts, both of them in Ohio and Georgia, tilt Republican. In Ohio, obviously very Trump winning by 11 points, I believe. So I think it's going to be tough for Democrats to win it, but Vivek is a very flawed candidate. And then in Georgia, Keith Adams, the former mayor of Atlanta. Yes, he is the mayor of Atlanta, and the base in Atlanta is going to show up. But the problem is, people think he's a weak candidate, and it kind of shows. But it's going to be close, especially since it's a swing state and a potentially very blue environment. So that is the end of my video. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, 30 minutes and change. I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.